close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here for another day of BTS 2 Pro Series. It is MLP Dota and John. John, welcome back, sir. Another day. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Mike. Day number 6. We're halfway through groups, and it's been an explosive group stage so far. A lot of teams showing us what they're worth. Every single win is starting to count a little bit more. We did see Neon Esports debut yesterday to mixed results. They got a drawn series to Reality Rift,
10 seconds
and
remaining.
T1, well, they found their first series win up against
5
Signal Ultra.
seconds
So
remaining.
we'll see who does get to continue on to better footing here. Historically, these two teams, when they have met up, and they haven't met up too many times, mind you, T1 has won. 2 series overall they've played before, and T1 has won both series. So it does look like they understand what Neon plays, and it's funny.
Team pick.
Radiant team pick.
Dire team pick.
First game was a pos 1 Venno, which we had a lot to say about. Second game, however, they ran the offlane Venno, which was actually very successful. But T1 obviously don't want to have to deal with it.
Dire team,
It's
Radiant
kind of
team.
like a specialty of Neon Esports. They seem to be very confident running that Venomancer. And while the draft has begun, John T1, they start off with the very popular Ember and the Winter Wyvern. Neon Esports, they go into the Beastmaster Prophet straight up.
Yeah, it's a different style from both sides. You look at T1, with the Ember Spirit and with the Winter Wyvern, they are pretty much set up for the D push. They're already ready for that push potential from Neon with their summons. They've got a decent way of clearing out those summons with these two heroes on hand. But Neon, they want to push. It's a Beastmaster and NP. It's more than likely we're going to be seeing the Raging Potato Beast, but we have seen that down mid. We'll see if that
10
is going to be the
seconds
case
remaining.
here for Neon. If they do run the mid Beast and the offlane
5
NP,
seconds
that would be
remaining.
2 cores in the opening. That does leave you to certain vulnerabilities as the draft goes on, but you have that flexibility on hand. T1, I think it's less likely we're going to see the support Ember along with the Winter Wyvern. I think that is can be a bit wonky as a support duo, but they've got a bit of that flexibility as well.
Yeah, that they do. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what the idea here is with the Ember. Neon Esports, we are waiting for one more ban before we get to see where they're going with their own draft. I wonder if they'll add any more push onto this draft. I mean, there's already so much going on. Should be very, very noticeable though for T1 that, you know, obviously the Prophet's not going to be offlane, but it's going to be a matter of whether they put that Prophet in the support role, or whether they want to try and run that mid Prophet that we've been seeing quite a lot of recently. Most teams bring that mid over more than anything. Whoa, the cameras have disappeared now.
Yeah, I think my connection's been a bit fuzzy. I'm trying to call back in, but we actually had technicians
10
come in to
seconds
actually work on the
remaining.
poll. And okay, I turned off the mic, so we're not getting the double audio. We
5
should be
seconds
back, but
remaining.
you know how this capture is not the best. Sometimes it just doesn't
Radiant
refresh.
team
We'll see. Still, Shaker comes out for Neon, so they're not giving that Winter combo to T1. This is something we've seen a lot of teams fall back to. I think it's a really solid combo. This does give more team fight towards Neon Esports, gives them the option to start fighting early. We have seen a lot of big plays from Shakers
10
throughout the
seconds
entire
remaining.
group stage. Even just great fissure blocks in the lane phase down mid
5
can
seconds
really
remaining.
turn the tide for that mid lane matchup. So I like the pick for Neon. I think they should be able to maximize that hero. And this also does allow a Morphling pickup down the line, because it hasn't been banned out, and I'm not sure if T1 would want to pick it in this case.
Only time will tell. I have turned off the cams for now, John, because when yours disconnected, for some reason you reconnected and yours showed up and mine didn't. So I don't know why that is, but don't worry about it. We'll fix it by next game. So like you said, the Morphling is up for grabs for either side if they did want to pick it up right now. It has been very, very popular, especially when there is an Earthshaker in the game. It's to be expected. I'm very surprised the Earthshaker took so long to be picked up, in fact. Like, usually it's a first pick, but neither team wanted it. And now Neon Esports, you know, in that third pick stage say, okay, well, I guess we'll take it, you know, because it is still
Dire
available.
team pick.
Team 1, oh,
Ooh.
hello, the Earth Spirit pops out, one of my favorites, John. I love seeing it, I just don't know what the plan is here from T1.
Yeah, it's not a very common pick. I think every single time we see it, it has been mixed. It really relies on that early aggression, being active from the laning phase. I think you've got a bit of a tricky time up against the Shaker in terms of rotation, right? We always see the Shaker go down mid. If that Earth Spirit goes down mid as well, it just gets a bit harder to ensure your good positioning because of that fissure. It just causes a lot of havoc. We'll see if whether or not T1 maximizes that hero. I think it does give him a lot of rotation potential as well. They do have pretty good kill potential early on if they do decide to play that way, and it's pretty decent in catching some heroes out. Like the Morphling should be something you could combo on. It does take really fast fingers, but you could get the stun and then get the silence on. I think if they're expecting the Morphling to come out, that's one way to deal with it.
Are you saying I have really fast fingers, John? Are you inadvertently complimenting me for my Earth Spirit plays? Are you
Hey,
saying that Earth
you can.
Spirit plays have to be good to play Earth Spirit?
Yeah, I think they have to think they're good to play it. Not necessarily that they're good, but they think they're good. So it takes a certain confidence in yourself, and I guess that's a sign of something. It shows T1 they're feeling confident about their plays, and just as confident as you are. But there you go, Neon playing. Obviously, Shaker's there, not banned out. It's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer for sure for Neon. T1, they should have expected this though. Of course, you already talked about it, but the Earth Spirit does have that inbuilt silence. It's not the greatest silence in the world, I'll be frank, John. It is a decent duration, but it's not as reliable as you would hope. Sometimes it can be a bit clunky and a bit hard to land, and even then, there is time to react to it, right?
Yeah,
you connect the rolling boulder. If you can connect the rolling boulder, you are gonna be able to get the stun up, the silence off in time. If you don't connect the rolling boulder, well then you've just got to kind of hope that the Morphling doesn't start strength morphing before you silence. Overall though, if T1s keep going with a very early game oriented lineup, the Ursa does fit very well. The Earth Spirit does do well in these early sort of fight lineups. And so I think they're just going to keep going with that. You've got the Ember now, you've got the Ursa, you've got the Wyvern. You're ready to just go into Neon Esports very early on. Not really a hero that enjoys going too late, I'll be frank, because once you get those BKBs up, he kind of starts to become quite useless.
5 seconds remaining.
So I like the fact that T1's gone into the Ursa here. I just wonder how they finish it off now. Like, is it going to be a mid-Ember? I imagine it should be. And what are they going to put in the offlane for Forever?
Yeah, that's one issue that's coming out here for T1. I think all of the meta offlane heroes like the Beastmaster, the NP, the Timbersaw, the DK, they're all gone. So 4Ev's pool is rather limited. You do have the option perhaps for the offlane puck. I think that gives you an additional silence if you want to jump onto the morph that way. It does give you some way of getting that done.
10 seconds
if that is going to be a concern. I haven't seen that offlane puck too often though. I'm not sure if that is something T1 wants, but it ties in with the Winter Wyvern nicely. Gives you great team fight on top of that. A couple of teams have taken heroes like Tide, although in this case it's great deep push if you needed any more. I don't really think they needed any more deep push with this kind of lineup, but the Tide's an option to give them more team fight if they so opted. There's really just one worry for me. I think we've seen Morphling against Earth Spirit before, and if the Morphling gets ahead, it can be really hard to deal with. Like you mentioned, the silence not being the most reliable. I think bigger worry is that even if Morphling doesn't have Ags, if he turns into the Earth Spirit, he has so much mobility built in that it gets really hard to catch him out. And beyond that silence and stun for the Earth Spirit, you only really have the Winter's Curse. I guess Searing Chains is nice, but most of the time Morphlings do go for a Manta style. So they can get out of that sticky situation fairly easily. You're going to want something reliable here in the offlane to help you keep that Morphling pinned down.
He can avoid the silence of the Manta style unless he's been magnetized.
That's fair. Yeah.
You can really mess around with the silence there on the Earth Spirit, kind of play around with this Morphling, try trying to make him make decisions he doesn't want to
Dire
make.
team pick.
T1, last pick up, they do go for that off-lane Pangolier. Alright, I don't mind it. It kind of rounds off that team fight for T1, because they were lacking in that team fight a little bit. The Pangolier can be quite dangerous as well up against that Morphling, because sometimes you just want to be Agimorph, but the Pangolier has so much burst damage with that Swashbuckle. You can kind of underestimate, you know, how much HP you have while that Swashbuckle's coming in. Overall, we've seen for play this Pangolier. He does enjoy it quite a bit, and it is quite a nuisance to deal with. Neon Esports, of course, still had a support slot. They go for the Grimstroke, and that's just going to force that Pangolier to not really be able to roll every single time he goes for that Rolling Thunder. Soulbind will make him do a burnout on the spot. It's kind of a waste. Like, it really is hard as a Pangolier to have to go into that.
Yeah, it really is. I think you've got to worry about the Grimstroke and the Shaker. We've seen Fissures absolutely ruin the role. Even a Beastmaster, right, is pretty darn good control for the Pangos. There's a lot here from Neon to make Forev work for his ult. You do see the mid Morphling coming out here for Yapaj. Skem is on the safe lane NP, unless they do just kind of swap the players but not the lanes. Still, you're seeing Neon again kind of shift out their players. We saw this last time when they gave the Venomancer to Skem. We'll see how much Skem can bring out in the NP. If he does go safe or mid, we'll find out when it jumps in. But either way, I don't think the matchup is too bad for IYD, whether it's the more 40 NP. Like, I think the end is going to be slight. That is the case, just because you've got the range advantage, you've got the right clicks, and you don't really have magic damage to self from with the Ember Spirit. So you do have to maybe opt for the Sleight of Fist build in that case. Well, we'll find out as the game goes on. Still, Neon with this draft, they will just want to give space to Yapaj, find a farm in their Morphling, and T1, they need to work for those team fights. They need to play around Pango, they need to give their supports some EXP as well, in order to enable that aggression.
Yeah, absolutely. Game number 1 of today is about to begin, after we're done with the pause, of course. I remember the last day we started without a pause. In fact, it's just been every single day we get into a game.
Yeah, but it's servers, it's the internet. I honestly can't tell anymore because, like, it's across the regions, it's affecting you. At the same time, the internet, it has been pretty bad in the Philippines as well. And of course, Neon is a Filipino stack, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's everything going bad at the same time, you know? It's like, it's just been bad, but hey, you know, it's not too off par for Southeast Asia. I mean, we literally had some guys come in, go up the pole today, and for some reason I'm getting a lot more packet loss in my voice call. So, you know, even when they fix it, it gets worse. So I wouldn't recommend actually asking for a fix from PLDC unless you want your internet to literally just get worse.
To name the company, John. There's only one in the Philippines anyway. Everyone knows who it is.
That's true. That's true. I mean, there are 2 options, but there's only really one.
Wait, there's 2 options?
Yeah, I mean, the other option still uses the same lines for the most part, so it's 2 options. Yeah. See, ping issues for John. Well, can try to fix that. I mean, I don't think it's too pertinent on a Grimstroke. You know, it's nothing like a Earth Spirit, which you like to talk about, Mike. You love this Earth Spirit. You mentioned in draft.
See you later, nerds.
I do wonder how promotions is going to go. It's not the easiest draft to go into with an Earth Spirit. Like, you're going to struggle up against this Beastmaster. It's not going to be fun. You can't do much against him. The Earth Shaker, he's kind of annoying as well. Like, yeah, you can roll over his Fissure and stuff. You're not going to have too many problems with that. But you generally speaking don't enjoy stuns. When you're an Earth Spirit, you just want to be able to roll around quite a lot and just do what you need to do. But that Grimstroke Morphling and makes his profit, that's a different story.
Definitely.
They can be very, very susceptible, I think, to getting rotated on by Paulson on this ES. He has gone for the Orb of Venom build as well, so it does kind of imply that he is going to be roaming around, trying to find those big kills. And by the point that you hit level 2 on the ES is when you can really start easily killing people off. Because you have that inbuilt slow with the boulder smash as well. Level 3 feels better because you have even more damage with boulder smash and even longer slow. But overall, once you hit level 2, you could probably just leave the lane. And don't take any more XP off your off lane. Just leave it. Go try to start setting up kills for your team. And as a classic, any other classic possible game, you got to find XP the hard way. You can't just, you know, sit in the lane and soak to a level 6. You got to, you know, just go find it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's gonna be key for Paulson. It's also the same situation for Play Hard. I mean, we've seen this shaker time and time again. You just start with brown boots, you go with 2 clarities, you don't go with regen, because you're a tough guy, you don't need to regenerate, and yeah, it's a constant issue here for John Uel. That's a bit of a shame. That's multiple disconnects and reconnects. I think at this point maybe just reset the router or something.
See you later, nerds.
It's because you know, just closing and opening Dota doesn't quite do much. But you know, one thing I want, yeah. No E. What?
A flash of inspiration.
Alright, well, you know, this mid lane matchup, Yapaj on the morph up against IYD, that's a bit less common. Like, we've seen the morphling mid a couple of times. That usually is done in response to pretty bad lane matchups elsewhere. In this case, for Yapaj, I don't picture it being too hard for IYD. I don't think it's going to be too rough for Yapaj. It really depends on how he juggles his HP. Of course, him being mid leaves him open to those rotations we were expecting from Paulson. So that level 2 mark for T1 just got a lot more important. A lot easier to rotate in the mid morphling. There's just so much more, especially for a hero like the Earth Spirit. So
the thing is, though, you would have preferred the Prophet mid if you were T1.
Yeah, it's the range advantage, right?
No. I'm saying for T1, they would have preferred the Prophet mid.
Yeah, exactly, because they've got like a range advantage there, and we've seen Embers kind of burn out in trying to trade out, right? You're forced to go for Sleight of Fist, his Flame Guard doesn't do anything for you, and you know, NP has pretty ridiculous damage.
I'm saying for T1, they would have preferred the Prophet.
Oh,
not the
for them.
Yeah, because the Prophet is much more susceptible to dying from someone like Eo. The Morphling can waveform away, that's the real problem, and you're not generally going to go for the level 2 silence on this hero. It's usually level 4 you'll go for the point of silence.
See you later,
The Prophet's much because Yopaj might just be able to waveform out. I think that's why they're throwing Yopaj on the morph in the first place, is because they know if it's going to be the Prophet, it's going to be easy pickings for T1.
Yeah, that's fair. So it does take Paulson's timing a bit later, unless he actually offered silence, which, as you mentioned, you just don't tend to see.
Not before, and even at that point, you don't really want to. You know, you'd rather just max out roll if you can. But in this game, I think he might go for the silence, just for the sake.
Yeah. Again, it's gonna be key morph, so I wouldn't mind that investment. I think you might have enough damage on IYD anyway to perhaps melt the morph if you catch him out. Like, fully agi, it doesn't take damage. And again, against morph, you could probably opt for the Flame Guard build rather than Sleight of Fist. Yeah, you're not much pressure. The morphling is still range, but it's not very big. It's not as worrying as, say, Treant Spam with a Blightstone. So you're not going to trade too unfavorably, and it's a lot of pause time being eaten up by Neon.
Well, they've got no choice, right? Like, if you can't connect to the internet, what can you do? So, I don't think Neon's doing it on purpose. I just think that, you know, the servers right now are just ridiculously bad in SEA. See if you can hold the connection before that 5-minute timer is up. always bothered me about some Ember Spirit plays, John.
Yeah.
I don't like that they hold a sword and a nunchuck at the same time.
Oh
It's
yeah.
always bothered me.
Yeah, I mean, it's customizable, right? You can choose what you put on, but it's always strange that you go with one sword and one nunchuck. Like, I'm sure IYD has both.
Oh, he does.
He has both.
Well, he does. That's what I'm looking at. He has a sword and a nunchuck right now.
No, I mean, like, I'm sure he has copies of both, you know? Like, he could go fully into the chucks or fully into the rapiers. You don't tend to have just one. But I guess he just wants to rep his gifters.
Be cool. Gotta be unique and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like,
I don't like the sound of the nunchuck though.
yeah, it's a weird choppy sound. It always annoys. The most irritating part is when Sleight of Fist goes off.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's just always there, and it's just so annoying. Hate the sound of it.
The swords sound cool, right? Like the normal cosmetics sound pretty cool. I like
Yeah.
the flashing sound, but and for some reason when you have a sword and a nunchuck attached, it takes the nunchuck sound.
Yeah.
I don't know why it prioritizes that sound over the other, but that's how it works.
Yeah, I think there was one more sound that bothered me. You know, have you ever noticed in the Beastmaster versus Troll matchup, their axes sound exactly the same? Yep.
Oh, they do too.
It is so annoying. It's just the same sound in lane, and they're just trading last hits. It's just big choppy sound.
Well, they are using axes.
That's fair.
Are theoretically using axes. So that makes more sense to me than, you know, using a nunchuck and sword at the same time.
Yeah, it is strange. Still, we'll find out how all of these factors play in. Whether the nunchuck and sword is going to be enough for IYD to out-annoy Yapaj in that mid lane, and you start to venture into...
Right, we do. ESPORT. They're going to start off with 3 at the bot lane. Of course, they should have... No, they go for the Stroke of Fate at level 1.
A lesson.
I was assuming that, you know, because they wanted to try and go for an early FB with the Ink spell, but Stroke of Fate can also be pretty good.
30 seconds to
will have 2 balls up. Try and go for that early
I
first
had a
blood.
terrarium once.
It seems as
and
though
like
Team
this.
1 are well
except
aware
for
that they're going to
mice
try for
and
this.
a chameleon.
They're on the high ground right now, just
possibilities for
waiting for their
combat were
opportunity.
much the same.
Neon, yeah, they'll eventually just leave. They know it's... Go secure the other boundary rune. Ranger Potato did scout it out with his hawk anyway. Team 1, they might try to go for that bottom still there with Miracle. No, he's just going to go for that ball. EXP. He won't get it. But maybe he will. Chase again. Eventually he will have to give up on it.
Yeah, it's just back to lane, find those last hits. And we'll see how long Neon maintains this. I mean, they do have Playhard still blocking up. At one point, you do expect John Yuwal to join up top to help scam, but I guess this is the beauty of having that safe lane NP, right? It can still solo the lane. If you did to try lane, there's not going to be too much additional pressure for him.
Gonna try one seems to might be the target. Play hard will now show himself in that early here for the side of that. No, Miracle's the one who goes forward. Just does use the Arctic Burn as well. He playing by himself. Not have the dual lanes up against each other. Rather just the tri-lane and just leave their safe lane alone. No, never mind, they TP someone up, it's play hard.
Yeah, they split it up. It's going to be tricky. You mentioned level 4 timing. If he does go the typical build, that will give Yapaj enough time to really just match the farm of this Ember Spirit down mid.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a if they actually expect to be able to slow down Yapaj much in this laning stage. Probably more important, a very close call from in your dream.
Unimaginable
Paulson
retaliation.
just, I believe he did TP and yeah, he did. Understanding that
IYD sponsor is Paulson, so it kind of he's going to feel a bit better about that, and he has his bottle up anyway.
in your dream, or rather Paulson will get down the bot lane, but he does have the ball to smash anyway. The Miracle will be able to pick up first blood. Raging Potato, he will try and get the trade onto the earth.
Aggression of T1 kicking. Paulson with the on-point rotation, just finding some pretty nice kills.
I have been
Ah, you take an early turn today, Mike. Yeah, it's not much going on. You do see Raging Potato harass out Miracle a bit just to stop this farm on the Ursa, but it's been a relatively good lane for Miracle. He's still somewhat tied up with a Morphling, and it's not as good as Skem, but Skem does have a free lane, and that's an NP who can dip into the jungle. So overall, I'd say our Ursa's still off to a fairly good start. You do see supports down mid.
Normally.
Oh.
It would appear Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, it's not something I can underestimate. Although they're keeping that aggressive enough, they're making a move on Johnny well again.
My people died for nothing. Rent asunder.
Radiant's bottom tower is being subjected to extreme violence.
The seeds of fortune. Less bounty. The flames rush forth.
Starting to see that heavy commitment from T1 to just try to find the punch kill, but it's really not paying off. And you see the supports of Neon now as well, jumping Jocat.
Is that your
To find farm. I mean, Forev's getting a free lane because of Skem moving into the jungle. I don't think he minds it. I don't think Neon minds that as well. But they still have the answers for that Pangolier. Whether or not it pays off, we'll find out.
Is it you heard not my warnings?
I don't feel it shaking anymore.
See you later, nerds.
He can punish a very forward movement. Oh.
In a stroke of cunning, or perhaps of desperation, Dire's structures radiant and fortified has been slain. A moment of silence, please. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is
it's gonna be a lot faster for Neon in these pushes. T1, they don't quite melt these towers, and Miracle up top will just slowly chip away. This should give Neon easier access to that jungle, although there are good wards from T1, so whether or not they'll be able to maximize this control early on is well, not quite clear yet.
Amount of stress.
There was not much of
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Alright.
See you later, nerds. See you later, nerds.
That it is. And, well, T1 6-3, sub 10 minutes. They are starting to apply that pressure. They have been pretty on point with rotations. Miracle's farm has been secured as well. So Ursa should be coming online fairly soon. Is going for the Battle Fury build. I don't mind it too much in this case. I think we've seen a lot of aggressive Ursas even with the Battle Fury. So there is still room for that early aggression. For Neon, again, they've given Scam a hero that quite the hardest carry. It has the potency for it. But you see Scam building it in the drums first. So he wants to go for the auras to help his team push out, help them fight, but not necessarily do the damage himself. Looks like they will just give Yapaj that responsibility, which, you know, his progression has slowed down a lot. He's at 3.5k net worth, a full K behind our Ursa, and this is going to set his timing back. He is opting for the Manta style build, it looks like, right before the Ags. Fairly standard for how the Morphlings go, even with Shaker around. You do have to build that Manta up to survive early on, and just to stat pad yourself. So it's going to be a while for Neon's combination to kick off. It's going to be a while until we'll see that Shaker Morphling combination really start to pump the damage out. And, you know, you still got to wait for the Blink from play hard as well before you can start forcing these fights. So certain things still yet to come out for Neon and T1. With just the EXP they have, with just the levels they have in these heroes, should be able to start doing a little bit more on the map. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's not gonna be a fun time for Yapaj either way. I think that flexibility on the Spirit Vessel is pretty nice, but in the end, if you want it fast, you're probably gonna be looking at IYD to build it first. Like, he's got farm, he's got the speed to farm it up. You don't really have the best space right now for your supports. They're not too far behind, but there's not much room for them to really find that early farm. Although you do see Paulson keep it up. So it looks like they will give that responsibility to the Earth Spirit instead, and try to open up IYD to find something else to play with.
I feel like a broken record.
Yeah, just trying to go for the runes, but guys, there's some pretty good vision from Neon. They've always had pretty good vision over these runes as well, but rather strange for IYD to give that kill away. Still a nice pick for Neon, and they start to clump around mid, not really committing to a push. Yeah, it definitely is. I hold a preference for the Orchid. Every now and again we do see that pickup. I think it just gives a lot of pick-off potential for the Prophet. Of course, in this case, with the drums and mech, I think that is an indication of either fighting for Scam or more than likely just a push. They want to maximize this NP Beastmaster draft they've worked themselves into. And with the early drums, you can really start to siege a lot faster, although they are still saving up. Raging Potato still has to finish. I believe his first book isn't even done yet.
In a stunning development, Dire's top tower has fallen. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is being attacked for celebration. Like nobody's business.
Pause 1 are still basically free farming while all of this is happening. This does help out the Ursa just a tad bit more because he is progressing towards Battle Fury. And that's up, his farm really kicks in. You look at Yapaj, still trying to finish up the Yasha. Once the Mantis, I guess you do more damage, you can jump through the camps a bit faster, but it doesn't quite speed you up like a Battle Fury does. So as long as T1 finds that time in the BF, Miracle's just gonna enjoy AFK farm like this. He's gonna find a little bit more gold every single time.
Neon's just gonna stick around with that Radiant jungle, it seems.
Must I repeat myself?
Yeah, not really farming. Walking around that jungle, maintain control. Your partner's of course trying to farm up on that morph as well as scam on the Prophet. Still trying to catch up in farming. He is still behind. We do indeed have that vessel coming out of Folsom, by the way. He did burn the down. So very, very standard kind of build for this spirit. He has been soloing that mid lane for quite a while now, so he has a very nice 7 time. Let's go for the 2-2-2 build. Something that's happened in a very long time as well. It's more of an old school build.
Yeah, again, I think you do want a little bit more value in that sounds. You just really want to be able to have that control on your Page if you jump in. Although, again, whether or not that's going to help on your Page is very close to the Manta is a different question. You can kind of dodge it out if you're too early on that combination, unless the Magnetize starts flying at still. Gives them options now, T1, but again, they're just going to be playing the passive game as well, and still pulling ahead with the Battle Fury. He just doesn't care. Like, sure, you're finding farm on Schem, but he's an NP going for utility. Yapaj's farm is not bad, but it's not accelerating as fast. But this kind of favors T1 for the most part.
I don't think it's, like, you can add a Spirit Vessel up if you keep this up. Olsen, you're just giving more levels away to Team 1. Overall, their draft will probably work better throughout the mid to late game. Like just based on the fact that Neil that wants to push down towers so early and take over the map. But after that Tier 1 bot went down, they just kind of went stagnant. Just trying to catch up to the hard. You're never going to be able to overtake the Ursa.
No.
Always going to have that battle period to really escalate things quite a bit. Your opponent's going to keep trying to farm up. He's very close now to finishing off that Manta, so perhaps once the Manta's up, he'll kind of make the decision that, you know, he can get involved. But he's going to make the jump with the Joe Cam. Joe Cam is going to articulate away.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
The player has the Green Dagger up, but now Roshan's been taken.
Radiant hostility.
Yeah, it's an Ursa. You leave it alone, it just rush. Full Neon with the con play, I suppose, and start forcing fights. The issue is, you're more than likely not willing to fight into an Aegis Ursa this early on. So, one, again, finding a nice objective for themselves. Neon playing the long con, just taking it slow. They did finish up a Vlad's on Raging Potato, so they've got more sustain coming out. You would really like to see the push come in. You've got key items to enable push already from your NP, from your Beastmaster. You just need to find a lane to commit to. The mid is probably the most tantalizing, but they've never really made progress there, although they do smoke up.
They're not going to smoke up. This isn't to the Aegis now. Might be a little bit harder than expected, but we're trying to get this good reveal off on play hard. Keeping your dream in the mid lane, Miracle will also show up.
Radiant's
Now,
structures
into that mid team 1.
is under an extraordinary amount of stress.
Now as well on the Ursa, so he's just got to have a lot more just coming out of the
Middle tower is under attack.
so far the smoke is leading to nothing. Again, you just don't want to talk to this Aegis. If the Sean's off for a bit, they'll checkmate the HP pool of Miracle, but he's not back. Look at the Aegis to the T1 tower, jumping out of the ground dots. And Sken's just going to deny it. He doesn't even want to bother with it.
Its bottom tower is under attack.
Now, after going in your dream, Raw is going to be there. Play hard, just time. They saw the Earthshaker. All the way, moment now, changing up to your path. With his curse, up onto your. That's not a great deal for your ESPORT. Ball Thunder does come out. They bounce the soul by, but it's already too late. Scan, try to run away, but Miracle is a lump it now. They just want that next profit, and they are going to be able to find it. For him, still up away. But he should be all right, Raging Potato chasing him down, but ultimately he'll be able to just get out of there. A Miracle, he's got a triple kill now on that Ursa.
Courier has been slain.
Beyond esports took a very awkward team fight. It did not pay off.
It really didn't, and it was really down to Paulson. He was just keeping control on that morph and on play hard's Earthshaker. You never saw the slam come out because he was always damaged up, he was always silenced up, and that was enough to ruin Neon's game plan. They needed the Shaker to start carrying that weight, they need the Shaker to set up the stun, and when it's not there, then it falls apart, so T1 finds a good opening. They continue to build up a lead. Miracle is about to have BKB, so whatever control you had for the Ursa, it's going to fall apart. It's not going to be there. Miracle's going to have free reign in these fights, so just keep doing what he wants.
It's definitely getting worse and worse as time goes on for Neon. Like your Page is going to start working towards that Agony Scepter build on the Morphling. Neon, they're going to smoke up again. They still have that Blink Echo, so they want to try and make use of it. Raw is also back up, but it's going to be a smoke on smoke situation. However, I'm not sure if that Hawk caught it out in time. There wasn't flying out. They do scan it out as well, so they know there is a smoke at the moment. It won't matter though, like Miracle's is pushing the T2 tower.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Neon are just gonna avoid this side team. Try and push down the bot team, and they will find it.
Cause for celebration.
Now with the front bounties coming up,
Nobody's business.
teams they may run into each other for these front bounties. No, Neon's just kind of letting them go. He wants almost the exact same thing. They don't really want to go after these dinosaurs quite yet.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Neon's just going to go for the mid lane. Trying to force him T1 mid tower. It will be within his eye range, but T1 may just leave it.
Neon, I'd say with this kind of draft, the pace they're going isn't fast enough. They maintain a slight net worth lead, sure. But when you have a Beastmaster and MP, you really want those objectives gone. You want to build up an earlier net worth advantage, and that's not really showing. They're putting all their fate into Yapaj. Without Shaker course, as you mentioned, for the eggs, 3 parts away. It's still going to be a few minutes off, but once that's up, gives him options still. You do have the BKB up in Miracle. So he is a lot harder to deal with. The Aegis does expire, but they don't care. They smoke up. They want to reveal this.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I don't think they need the Aegis right with Miracle, how far ahead he is from that Ursa. I think they're very, very confident. They don't want to break the skin, although they do rule themselves early, but now the rolls in, things do come off. It's ugly to see this now, so Neil, they would be for here. In the beat as well, but Januel has blocked now. The pass who he's going for will try onto Pulse, and then he will survive. There is a buyback out on Januel. T1 is just kind of getting out of there, though. They do end up buying Jokan. Rage is the raw. Now your pass goes back in, getting a change. He might not do that seven target on scan, but he will just wait, turn around now and make a profit. They'll fly down a little bit. Rolls missing on together from the other through. Jeremy also being chased down now from in your dream. He will end up trying to finish off that kill. Does get it. The Pulse and a Forever both died now. Miracle still going on the earth. Down pretty hard. He will find the Shaker now to try to go for a TP away. Good work out. A very strange team fight between these two. It was a really back and forth. Ultimately, done in a 3-for-3 as they did get a dieback on that green stroke.
It's a very even fight. Neither side really gains too much. I suppose Neon got a little bit more EXP from that, but they're balancing out that deficit, but not for it. We'll see a slight lead towards Neon because of that better gold distribution on their cores. T1, they couldn't really force the fight out the way they wanted because Jokam fell a bit too far behind. They really need the Winter Wyvern to be around to take control there. If they got the Winter's Curse off, they could have focused on one of the bigger cores first, but not quite the case. Miracle as well. And this tends to be an issue for the Ursa before the Abyssal, but he was fairly easy to kite around. You couldn't find enough damage in time to burn one of those big cores. And you look at the Paj now from Neon's side, he does have the Ags. So Neon does have the Shaker Morphling combination online. And that's a lot more damage and utility coming out here for Neon.
And now Jokan feels it's necessary to try and go for a curse. There's a fair bit of damage coming out of Potato, and with that, Fred's gonna roll in now. Connecting once or twice. Does go for the swashbuckle, but he is still surviving. Not this round to play hard to lay things out, and now they can try to turn around with Yapaj. He does get off in the ring in the face. Brown catching anyone. Monster keeps on Miracle. He falls. BKB trying to go after Yapaj, but he will wait for him away. And now Miracle gets the TP back to his face. But this is all forever. He can jump him up and came up. One point you look up, this is gonna cost hard his life. And they could have actually gone for a TP tower push. But that Earthshaker dive does mean they have to back out.
Yeah, it's just a bit too greedy of a dive from Don. They do force the buyback out from IYD fairly early, so he doesn't have a second life to play with. No leeway on the Ember. Has to be a bit careful. He's been caught out a couple of times. Neon has been very consistent with that punishment on the Ember, so you're actually not seeing IYD's impact to the fullest extent. He is saving for the BKB in the Lincoln, so he really just wants to avoid that control that's being forced onto him. T1 inching closer towards the Abyss on Miracle. So that should resolve some of these kiting issues. At least it gives you a faster way to engage and chase. And that is something Neon has to be aware of. But all things considered, now that Equipage is online, Neon is starting to find much more favorable trades.
That they are.
Radiant's bottom tower is being subjected to
Won't
extreme.
keep fighting now, Neon. They're feeling confident.
Radiant's bottom
Good
tower
Dream
is
gets shown mid for a second, but you can tell he is a bit nervous about that morphing right now. In Your Dream's farm is really dropped off, only sitting at about 10k. About 4k behind your Page in that morphling. The ball they keep forcing again. Neon is going to go for a quick kill onto Jokan.
Radiant's
They
structures
will
are
actually force out the glyph without even getting the tower. It was just the creeps. Your Page jumps back in, and he's going to get the tier 3 tower now. The glyph was just so early.
for celebration seems to be the day.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got the Shaker Morph, you can just slowly chip away safely like this.
They do get a Winter's Curse, but it doesn't do anything. I believe he cursed an illusion.
Yeah, it's not ideal for Jokan, and they have to buy back again from the hero here. Neon gonna be very happy with how this chipping way is going. They build up a 5k advantage for themselves now. You do have an Abyssal on Miracle, but he really needs to start finding these bigger kills. They have not been able to kill off Equipage in a fair while. Shuffling is becoming a massive issue. They've got the answers for the Ursa as well. They've been constant with the disarm. And you're going to have another disarm onto Raging Potato on top of the one you have in Stem. So it gets harder and harder for Miracle to just stand and fight.
Not to mention they still don't have that Spirit Vessel. We're almost 30 minutes into the game. He's almost got the vessel up. He just needs the recipe now on Polison. Looks like he's going to prioritize just farming them up now as the ball wave is being forced in. He's going to be a little bit careful as that combo is right there. Is the more Earthshaker. It looks like Equipage using the TP towards the Roshan because there is the Roshan going on. Trying to slow down Miracle to take it in. It's going to fly through. Equipage does stick around and get Polison, and he's still going to get your base. Miracle does get the gauge down trees. He does also pick down up, and Your Dream in there with him. They do kill Jokan, but the chain is around from In Your Dream, and he has control. Wait, Hardo? No, he's just going to run out of there. Miracle, meanwhile, forced TV back down to the bot lane to try and protect the rats, but it's already gone. He's going to stick Abyssal on Equipage, but he will just wait for him away.
Barracks has fallen.
And ultimately, you got the Aegis. You lost the lane of rats.
And not in a good way.
It's a way bigger win for Neon. They're going to be very happy with that sort of trade. Equipage just knowing the priorities, knowing what was important, goes for the objectives, the actual objectives, and gives Neon a lot more leeway. You can't quite find anything else. Neon still has to go through a tier 2 mid, a tier 1 up top. With one lane that's just going to naturally shove in, they've given themselves a lot more leeway in the timings here. You're starting to see build up on Scam. He does have the Orchid up as well, so he can dish the damage out and the control. T1 has to be very careful with how far they put themselves in.
Lane, they will put a Miracle. They know he does have the Aegis. I actually like that pickup there coming out from Equipage now. He picks up the Lincoln. It'll be much harder to actually catch him up with the Lincoln Spear up. And at this point, just based on the item build he went for, it seems like T1 is really starting to, lose ways of dealing with Equipage. They are going to smoke up, try to take a 5v5 if they can, but the smoke's going to be fairly obvious considering they are taking the outpost back. The Hawk will notice nobody there.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Raging Potato already hiding the tree line, making sure he does not get caught out.
Dire's
And the smoke is going to lead to nothing.
It seems
Yeah,
that Radiant
at this point, T1, they're just trying to find anything they can. Miracle at this point is just happy to take a T1, but
Normally.
Great. He ends up killing off Jokam just by himself again. Trying to get the TV up, and he's just gonna stand there and wait. Confident nobody's gonna chase him down. He'll show up now, blinking in again, trying to go up the earth through. Now has to run away. There is a ball to put it out from Fared. Miracle, not for the big pass to do. They must assume the side of team is right behind him. They're all TPing back to the base. And now that T2 top tower's gone as well.
Surely that was.
So Neon in that meantime, not only do they not end up losing their Beastmaster, but they found a T1 and T2 tower up that top lane. And there was nothing that was done by T1 at all.
yeah, they're just bleeding out a lot of ground slowly but surely towards Neon, and Neon have really bounced back in. They were never too far behind in that early game anyway, but they've found a space. They've really kept IYD in check. I think that's been a major factor here. It's just that IYD Timber has not been able to influence the game as much. It's been all about Miracle finding these fights, finding these kills. And the key pickoffs onto the Winter Wyvern just means every time they push in after Jokam's dead, there's no way the teamfight can come out. They really need the Winter's Curse from Jokam to split up the fight and buy them time to set up. Without that, Neon just finds everything, and T1 are just never confident.
But it's getting to the point now where you can't have the shotgun build coming out. Or this time, I guess. More burst, why not? If you can afford it, you just take it at the more. We're approaching that 32-minute mark now. T1 are just losing any form of way to win this game. They still hold on to the Aegis, but don't really seem to want to use it. Find themselves more time to farm. Now jump in, and that's going to be a dead Earth Spirit? No. 4 TP rotations were coming in. They all get put off apart from Jokam's.
Ooh man, he won.
Trying to react quickly to your pass, but he just has such a quick escape mechanism.
Yeah, I don't get it though. Like, even if they go in and save Paulson, it's like, there's no objective to work towards for Neon there anyway. Might as well just lose that. Earth Spirit tried to group up for a different objective where Neon could play. It's just a bit of a waste. That does mean they can't walk too far from the base. They have been trying to find farm further out. That option is sort of taken away for them, as they do still need some farm. You look at Miracle, he's saving up for the Ags. He's trying to give himself that option with the Enrage, just kind of ride through that initial disable. It's about 1,200 gold away, not too far, but it feels like it is too far because they're just not able to fight. And Neon right now, I mean, they've got everything they could ask for. They're already set up in your Yopaj. He's just about to finish his shotgun, just lacking that Eagle song. So, drive-by earlier, he's just gonna be able to do it every single time. So much easier.
Seems like Miracle's trying to farm an Axe. He does have it up now. Perhaps that'll help. Still no will to leave the base, and for bot lane, Fox seems to be in big trouble here on the Earth Spirit. Does have help behind him. They do scan that out, so they don't actually make the jump. Just let Paulson run by. Neon just chilling, just waiting for the right opportunity. Your opponent just continues to just push the top lane out, so just keeps forcing T1 back towards their base.
And there's no real rush from Neon. They've got that massive lead. They've got the heroes to really siege high ground if they wanted to. Hold up. They don't want to give T1 an opening. Probably look for a pickoff. Again, the key target is more than likely just Jokam or IYD. These are the targets Neon continue to jump and build into for the next team fight. So they catch that Winter Wyvern out, you just take all of T1's team fight away. Easier to manage. Still, while this farming game goes on, you build in Stem. Does have the Blood Torn up and running, looking for the Hex, and Yapaj does finish up the shotgun. The E-Blade up and running. So anyone that comes into range of him just takes a right click, takes the E-Blade to the face, and are pretty much dead.
We'll see your Paj. You probably will want to try to get a snap or two off if you can. America's going to start working towards that Satanic now on the Ursa. Both teams definitely going to be waiting for that next road time, and it's going to be about 40. We're going to find out when it's up in 45 seconds. Not waiting for Rev. Could be in a bit of trouble. Scan Echo being committed with the Orchid there as well. And it's going to be a very easy kill onto Forever. We'll extend the net worth lead of Neon to 14k. Wait and see what the game is here for Team 1. They just seem a bit lost.
Yeah, they need Jokam to be able to land a combo. I think Repulsion find a really easy hero to target, but Neon just have not shuffled out.
Yeah, we're being committed, basically Taylor does Jokam and now Paulson is looking hard, full line of Miracle. You lose a lot more on your side of things, but maybe not Miracle, he will go rest of the second. Now you're probably in there with the shot back into the fight now, taking into a dream. A triple kill out for your card once again. And now it comes to that Tier 2 mid tower. They may want to scope the high ground as well if they want. Buyback is going to be there out of Paulson. You do have a buyback available on Miracle right now, but he probably doesn't want to really commit it. Forever dying very, very quick. Stop and they in your dream, we'll get the kill. Miracle now going up to play hard, does secure the Earthshaker. Well, Skim, he's going to have to come TP with the and now Team 1 here on the side of Neon.
Yeah, that was really strange. Really strange that Yapaj died there. Just overcommitting and not having the backup of his team. That was a dieback on play hard as well. So a lot of big kills coming out for T1, and they're starting to feel confident. They're just going to be able to use this time to try to shove out the lane. They didn't take too much damage on that mid-tier 3. They're going to be satisfied. Unfortunately for them, no Roche. And that would have been the easiest objective for them to take. They're going to have to just either try to just find farm or maybe shovel lane. Doesn't look like there's going to be enough time to really find a tower here. Gonna have to settle for additional farm. You do manage to finish up the Lincolns on IYD. So it does get slightly more complicated to lock him in. Gives him a bit more leeway to stand and fight. But again, you look at Neon, they know that every single time they burst off Jokam, they win fight. And they have been really disciplined about that this entire game. Jokam has to really be careful about how far he is from the team. They need to stick a lot tighter together, but not too tight for the Shaker, because Jokam needs to get off that ult. Without, it's just really hard for T1 unless Neon overextends.
They're gonna go back into that Roshan. It just did respawn up. Down in place now. Onto Skip. It's gonna be very easy. Roshan for T1, of course, with that Ursa. Back into the base, because Raging Potato was forcing that base down, but Bolton right behind him. Does get the forward smash off. Now roll as well, but play hard with forced up. Raging Potato well, and cut Bolton. He may have overextended. He does get a roll off. But there's gonna be a shotgun blast up from Young Hard. And he's bounty claimed on the Earth Spirit now, and Bolton's getting a little too excited.
Yeah, that is still a dieback for Paulson, so he's not going to be able to buy back for the next 5 minutes. So he has to be careful about dying like that in that time span. The team does need him for that control, and it is even harder to keep a lid on your push now. I mean, he has that Manta, he does have the Links. Now he has a BKB on top of that. So, what happened last time shouldn't happen again, as long as he spaces his item usage out, and it gets a bit more complicated for T1 to find those pickoffs on the Morphling.
He doesn't get the roar onto that weapon. Now he just gets blown off. The Raven Taylor does what he's like. Now he's hard.
What?
It's abyssal bladed there by Miracle, and now T1 are making their way back into this
Radiant's
game.
middle tower is
Just
under attack.
silly amount of kills happening here on the side of Neon Esports. Giving a lot of space back over
Radiant's
to the
middle
T1
tower
side.
is under attack.
Yeah, just really reckless Yapash. Just playing a bit too greedy, jumps into basically the entirety of T1, gets punished. And just because he just bought that BKB back, of course that means he doesn't have buyback. So there's no major high ground push coming out from T1, but this should give them at least a mid tier 2, maybe even a bot tier 2 if Miracle does feel like it. It's just slowly but surely chipping back into this game here for T1. Just continue to find kills like that. If they can continue to punish and bait Neon in, then I'd say it's good.
Bot lane, Bolton does end up going down. Bayhard will take the kill on the Earthshaker. Both teams once again just not able to really capitalize too much off these team fights. Well, Team 1 isn't anyway. Like, they're not really able to go for any towers out of this. It's just all farming on their side of things. On esports, of course, they can capitalize from taking good team fights, but losing a couple team fights in a row now, their network has started to dwindle back the way of Team 1. You got so many big items on scam on that profit. They just need to take a team fight together, just not alone like they have been.
Yeah, they can't afford to anymore. It's been a massive opening T1 has been able to exploit. It's really interesting that Scam is actually opting for the E-Blade Dagon build himself. He just wants to get the burst off, which is fair enough. Miracle has been a bit of an issue. Just having the option to try to just immediately delete him is nice. And you do see some build in T1. IYD does finish up the Ags on the Ember, so has a lot more mobility. Damage flying out. This does make it a little harder to handle that Ember Spirit, and he does hit 25 as well. He's got the Remnant Talon, just a lot zippier on that Ember Spirit. Is saving up for the Hex, so that Hex will make it a lot more consistent in pinning down Yapaj. And crucial for them to not lose IYD in the next instance. He
does still have gauges, so getting confident. However, from behind, they go again, face on the go, and they want to blow up that wire. And they do. Forev goes for the roll of thunder. They are going to lose rate of potato on the beast faster. And now Forev trying to control of your pass. They can jump in. Colson does go for the silence, goes for the slow as rolling. Your pass will the other way to warm out. Now the Colson is quite nice catch off that 2D your pass. Forced to be KB, but there's the Princess Curse. Scam going back in on the Nation's Prophet. Will take the Earth Spirit form himself. Gordon breaks out. Scam being chained up, maybe having a form of Waldo. No, gets there, stop in time. It was by the TV, but they have plenty of songs available. Nation's Prophet, and Scam does go down. That's the team fight. Neon Esports just can't win.
Neon is slipping apart at the seams. They've had a lot of these fights out. Yapaj was in a very dicey situation. If Scam didn't come in, he would have actually died without the NP to back him up. And you're really putting yourself at risk here, Neon, playing this way. Just need to clump. It looked like they were finding the better end of that fight when they did pick off Jokam once more. He did just immediately to the buyback. So the next time you do find that Winter Wyvern, it's not going to be able to buy back. You have an opening there for Neon, but with those deaths, T1, they can do some damage to the high ground. There is a repair kit to make that more annoying, though. It is just going to stop the push. Yeah, you know, it reminds me of, remember that time when Lich 25 was really broken? Like, yeah, that's it in an item. So, it's really annoying. Oh yeah. Yeah, interestingly enough, Scam opts to not save her buyback and goes for the Dagon 2. I'm Dagon 3 selling the mech. I'm a bit skeptical about this when he did just, well, you know, he did just die. You know, having the option for buyback at game would be nice, but yeah, if T1 finds Scam, I'm not sure if they're going to be aware he has no buyback, actually, because they must not think that way, but it's still going to be an opening for them. I mean, T1's still building up. Forev has the Basher, so the Swashbuckle's a lot more obnoxious. He's saving the Abyssal on top of that. So again, all the control starting to build up here for T1 and Neon. But 12-5? Oh, no. Neon have bled away a 12k advantage. They just decided to, they don't need it. 20k actually, near 20k advantage. Bled out to T1. Neon, they've put themselves on a really dicey situation where, yeah, they spiked up really great. Now you're at the point where the superior control from T1 is going to be a lot scarier. The Winter's Curse has been a consistent factor, not quite the best usage in that last engagement, but you can see Neon constantly targeting Jokam. It's all about getting that Winter Wyvern out, and in their haste to do so, T1 has been able to punish. So you're looking at the item buildups in T1, it's still coming out. IYD inching closer towards the Hex. Miracle's Ursa just going straight for the MKB. Doesn't have the Blessing ready to switch out the Ags as soon as the MKB is ready. So he's pretty much almost 6-slotted, 7-slotted here, and it gets a bit scary handling Miracle. So all of his talents will be up. The Enrage duration up there, that is just going to be so obnoxious, having that additional duration with the Scepter cooldown in play as well. No. Oh boy. Yeah, It's got all of it. Refresh, Ag's blessing as well, so a lot of potential for a lot more utility coming out here from T. Out, although they are chasing.
Playhouse is an easy kill. He's kind of alone. Your opponent's around the corner. Risk his life. So, well, in your dreams,
yeah, it's if we are getting to that point where T1 should not have been able to bounce back like this. They really shouldn't have with how Neon was playing early. You know, it took them a while to find the objective, sure, on Neon's side, but they did start racing ahead. And in their tomfoolery, T1's just back at it. They do have the E-Blade up on the NP. That could help them burst the hero down. Whether or not that's enough, I honestly don't think it is. Like, you've seen issues from Yopaj bursting down even Paulson at this point. If you both focus on the target, sure, you can burn one hero down, but that's a lot of investment for just one hero burst.
Trickster's rune of illusion.
Well, I think just waiting for the incoming high ground attempt now from T1. You don't have the greatest push potential out from T1, but it is it can be done slowly with sure leans. We do have Jocam now disconnect.
You mentioned Jocam, I mouse over him, and he has 6.8 in the bank.
Yeah, why not?
Wait, no.
He just spends it. Believe he's buying an Aeon disc.
Yeah, that he is, and it's gonna be massively helpful. Actually, no, I don't think that was. Yeah, because it didn't Jocam's because he was disconnected. So, I mean, you have 6.8k in Miracle. He doesn't actually have anything to build into anymore unless he replaces boots.
Oh, you get like a shot.
Yeah, just the self buff. But look at that. He is just about 400 EXP away from 30. So, enraged duration, attacks, Fury Swipes reset, and mana regen. This is pretty good. I think the 20 is the greatest one. The enraged duration's really just going to be a lot of value for Miracle.
Yeah, no, it's going to be amazing for Miracle. And he's going to get this next guy away now, I think. As they up for a kit again. That was the last charge of repair kit. Scam, of course, is still pushing the bot lane, trying to still build into the Dagon 5. We haven't really seen the purpose for the Dagon, though. We haven't really seen any point to it.
I mean, Burst is nice. I guess if you can lock someone down, Miracle is certainly not it anymore. Not with how much he can really just pop that in Rage, and how much HP he has. Not target, but I guess the supports are nice, still. I mean, you burst down Paulson or Jocam, you're looking good. But yeah, they're going to be building into that, and look at that, Miracle 30. He doesn't care anymore.
Eventually will wear off. The great fish around onto Forever. He's just going to get blown up here from your pawn. They still have plenty of farms to fight back, and they're going to find Jocam as well. They're going to give you a dream and miracle now, because they really find these guys out does end up dying, your palm does have the damage. Now in your dream, just gonna remember to wait. Just remember all the way back down to the base. And all the buybacks will just start flying out.
Yeah, it's ooh, it took a lot for Neon to get that done. And they had a lot of damage flying out with the shotguns and Dagons, but does manage to pay off. Miracle not going to be in a very good position now, forced to buy back early. Careful with how far forward they get. You're not seeing a Winter's Curse flying out from Jokam. He's just looking for the perfect target. I think you really just go for whatever you find, although you push. Oh no.
Going after that big fast red potato, who will also die. Now Revenant's forced in your dream, trying to find Genuel, does get the chains off. There'll be another kill coming out now for T1. Both Red Potato and Genuel having buybacks available.
Dyer's
But
courier
Yapaj will
has
actually
been slain.
bag him
News
separately.
of the death is expected to travel swiftly.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's the blessing. Okay.
he's not going to be able to free that slot up for his Satanic. Unfortunately, he's going to have to play juggling, and they do force the buybacks. This looks to be shaping up to be the final showdown here for both sides. Going to be on the edge. T1 still have to use that Winter's Curse. They do have an edge there. There is the A on this con or Winter Wyvern, so additional durability. Can they find the right target though?
Ordinary amount of stress.
Find out.
Ooh.
Okay.
Dagon 5 done. Yeah, Scam's all geared up.
He has the ethereal blade. I get it, but it's it seems so silly.
I mean, it is. It's working though. It's silly and it's working. As long as it works, it can be as silly as it wants to be. I'm sure Neon wouldn't mind.
Dyer's structures
Still.
are fortified. They are looking quite
Comes out now. Miracle sitting at the 40k net worth at the moment. Still has 8k in the bank account. He does get the added blessings for himself now. At this point, you may as well just buy yourself a moonshot as well. Like, I get you can use overpower over and over again anyway. No harm in just getting a moonshot, boosting yourself up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just the added durability. I don't think damage has been an issue. I think they just miracle to survive, and as long as he lived long enough to get his second enrage off, he has been pretty hard to deal with, so can't really blame him for that. The stat is pretty nice as well. I think that's I think it's a lot of value for him to be able to stand there and fight, so does get a lot harder to deal with Miracle, but Neon has shown us that it can still handle him as long as certain things happen. So it's starting to be pretty cutthroat between both teams. Neon just setting up for a mid of in, and T1 just clumping up together. I think they might want the next Roche first. They do actually finish up that Moonshard on Miracle's fault, so Sinbad's gold has the buff. There you go.
Okay, well now you don't have buyback gold though.
Nah, he already bought back earlier anyway, so I think that's it.
Yeah. That's fair enough. You'll have the flicker for the added movement speed as well, so not having the treads in the bag doesn't really bother him as he's not really losing any movement speed at all.
Yeah.
So he'll just be fine.
That he is would be nice. I think they might be stalling out as well for perhaps the tier 5 items. I'm surprised that no one picked up the leveler. I mean, if they were gonna opt for the push, you may give Miracle that on his backpack, but pretty full backpack, I suppose.
Tier 5 items coming in very, very soon. This is game 1 today, John. We've got 7 more after this.
Oh man, they smoke up in T1, get a bit impatient.
Wait for those T5 like T1. I don't think you need. They're gonna move in, trying to go after that race to stay base. He's trying to get it off, but now it's not coming out. Now Solomon with a double. Oh, from your cards. time to go high ground, sir. You get the only one with flyback.
Oh yeah, it's the old thing for Neon. They only have one tier 4 and it's being taken away now. T1.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
I think that's game. Like just
Radiant's middle
there you go. Oh man.
Off the back of a double roar, double shotgun. T1 just got a little bit too impatient and it took cost from the first game. After 59 minutes and 45 seconds, 15 seconds short of seeing some tier 5 items, John, the game 1 is over.
Yeah, that was
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is
Five seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban.
welcome back. We are here for our second game of this best of 2 series between Neon Esports and T1.
Radiant team.
It is MLP Dota and the lovely John Expired. John, welcome back. We had a rather long game number 1. Ultimately, Neon Esports had a huge lead. They ended up throwing that lead, and then they ended up winning that game anyway. Game 2, what do you think T1 needs to do differently?
I think they've got to be
10
a
seconds
bit
remaining.
less impatient. It was really that last fight they went all
5
in for.
seconds remaining.
That didn't quite pay off. They were clumped up. They got punished with the soul bind, and it fell apart from there. They need to maybe temper that back a bit. I would say maybe go for a much more comfortable pick for Paulison. That has been a bit of an issue. His Earth Spirit was not as effective early on. I think that had something to do with the morphling down mid as well, but it just felt like you weren't seeing that early impact as much as you'd expect. So perhaps a shake up in draft. We do see Neon shake up their draft. They pick up the Venomancer themselves, and T1, they pick up the Shaker. So a bit of a trade there in the heroes. Neon managing to pick up that Veno, which is a bit flex. They do run it down mid sometimes. They give it to Skem sometimes, and they could run it in the off as well. So we'll find out exactly the game plan of Neon as this goes on. But T1 with a stable Shaker, I mean, a lot has been said about this hero. A lot of teams just enjoy picking it up, and it really just helps you out in team fights and early ganks.
And now the Enigma is well from T1, so that should be an offlane Enigma that we're seeing. Generally speaking, the Earthshaker should be possible. I can't imagine it being put in the pos 5 role. But you left Rubik there. So Fisher, Echo, Black Hole, all going to be available for this Rubik to steal. And I mean, that's some value right there. Like usually it's one or the other. Usually it's the Earthshaker or the Enigma that's gonna prompt a Rubik pickup. But you just gave both away to Neon. That is the easiest draft of their lives.
It definitely is. Like, there's a lot to watch out for now, T1. I think they have to de-emphasize the black hole. If they do commit that, you have to catch that Rubik. In this case, you can't allow it to just be outside. You have seen stolen black holes much more effective than the actual main one. So a lot more patience has to come out from T1. Still, I think when you consider how T1 plays with 4EV, this does give him a lot of push potential. If it is going to, I mean, it more than likely is, but is his hero. So you've got that push potency now from 4EV. I don't think you're going to be expecting the Blink build here. The Blink BKB most definitely just going to focus on the... And you do see T1, they pick up the Ember Spirit once more. IYD was playing pretty great on it. His start was not fast though. That was a very, very slow start for him. He was being focused down well by Neon. Expect Neon to continue to try to maintain that control. There are still key pickups here that would help against the Ember. I think you might be seeing that Beastmaster make an appearance once more. It hasn't been banned out. Maybe you even see the Bane if you just want to support the deals for that. And the Enigma.
I think it's kind of insane that Beastmaster hasn't been banned. Should be a fairly obvious pick here for Neon Esports that Beastmaster like works great up against the Ember plus the Enigma. Maybe they wanted to run the Veno as a pos 3 though, which may be a bit of a problem if they want to pick up that Beastmaster this game. They aren't. They're going to go for the tiny pickup instead, and that's sort of another way to control the Enigma up until he has the BKB way. That does kind of imply to me, if you Beastmaster, you are probably going to see that offlane Veno. So I think T1, for them it should be fairly
10
obvious.
seconds remaining.
Yeah, this probably better than Gem though. I think
For sure.
the last thing we saw from that, yeah, it was not. So I actually feel fine about that offlane Veno. It's still not my favorite hero. We see T1 actually doing that with 4EV. It just for me. It really just is a timing issue. We'll see if Neon corrects that. Again, they won one game with Veno yesterday, so they can make it happen.
Reggie looked amazing yesterday. On that Veno. He looked like he was carrying the team with that Veno. But it was the positive Veno that just looked abysmal. In all honesty, it just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Team 1, they go into the Phoenix now, so that should be the POS 5 pick-off there for Team 1.
Yep.
They do enjoy giving Joe Cam that POS 5 Phoenix, and I'm sure he enjoys it quite a bit himself. Neon Esports, how do you want to
10 seconds.
go back into this? I mean, T1 has so much team fight. It's kind of ridiculous how much team fight they have. You don't have right now to burst through that Phoenix egg.
No.
That's a real problem here for Neon Esports. You don't really have a choice here with the Snapfire pick either.
No.
If you wanted to go for the Snapfire to deal with that egg, you haven't got space for it anymore.
Definitely not. I think maybe you start looking at pause ones to take care of it, something that doesn't care for the burn. We've seen Troll in response to Phoenix a couple of times. We've seen even the Ursa once that Phoenix comes out. Those are options there for Skem if Neon opts for it. As you mentioned though, the team fight from T1 is just so scary. It's that combination that I actually really love. It's the Black Hole and Supernova, two things that don't naturally exist together in nature, but you can make it happen in Dota. You defy physics by having both going on next to each other, and it's really effective. Just the chain stun, the damage coming out. You will always worry about that Rubik, but now he's kind of forced to split his attention. Does he immediately steal the Black Hole, risk getting stunned out by the Supernova? Does he steal something else?
Wait,
how do you break up this combo?
In reality, if there was a Black Hole and Supernova right next to each other, I believe the Black Hole, scientifically speaking, should
absorb it,
right?
Yeah. Not quite how it works here, but
quick space lesson, I guess.
Yeah,
kind of just brought it up, and I was like, yeah, what would happen there?
Well, okay.
Okay, so now it's a core Tiny that we're seeing. Here's my problem. Neon Esports draft right now is just super squishy. I think your draft overall is just very, very weak altogether. I really did think they were going to go for the, you talked about the Troll, you talked about the Ursa. I thought that's where they would go with this.
5 seconds remaining.
I don't know. Neon Esports, the draft just looks very soft. It's very effective early on, right? You've got so much burst damage, and even damage over time with Neon Esports. If T1 takes too long to farm up, it could be problematic, because then Neon Esports could just set a tempo that's way too quick to keep up with. But if you have someone like in your dream on that Ember, who does get a good lane for himself, and who can really start going and rotating in a mark or so, I mean, look at how many options he has to take out. Like, it's just so many heroes right now that just die so quickly to the Ember Spirit.
Yeah. It's,
I didn't think they were going to go into that Snapfire, John.
I know about it. I know about it. Like, it's as you mentioned, it's got its weakness. It got its spot, right? Like, the moment you hit 6 on your Snap and Veno, if you get the lift from Rubik, you're guaranteed a kill. That you've got that combo, but you have to worry about everything else coming out from Neon, and I guess the Tiny core is something we've seen like once when it's been picked up, and it's been a while since it's been in vogue. I know how much you're really expecting here. Again, it comes online really early, all of these heroes from Neon, but it's just, it feels like their first game yesterday. Remember that when they had that Veno for Skem? I'm worried that they're giving Skem something that he's not really going to explode in. Skem's tendency is just really heavy farm heroes. The NP, where he just itemizes for damage. His Spectre is great, his Morphling's great, but I don't think of a pause 1 Tiny in that same role. I'm actually worried if it's not a pause 1 Tiny, it might be pause 1 Veno. In the end, there's just that flexibility that might work against them. They close with the Ursa. Okay, so they actually do get the Ursa in the end. That should be the Skem hero. A bit more confidence there. The Venmancer and Tiny course on top.
Why go for the Snap in the first place if you're going to go Ursa?
The guarantee? Just to guarantee yourself you're not being split up? Maybe the Black Hole's going off?
10 seconds remaining.
I don't know. This is a strange set of events for Neon. I think there is potency, but it's definitely not as bombastic as T1. You do have the Rubik for counterplay. You do have, I guess, if you jump the Ember on time with the Tiny, then you can burst IYD down. But T1 have the space to close out here with with whatever they want. They understand what Neon has. They know they can kite the Ursa around. They just played it. They know what to do against it.
You could legitimately just go something like Medusa right now.
Hmm.
They have no way to burst you down in the late game. You can just kite them all around. They don't have the disable for it. Like it's greedy. They'd have to drag out the game. But Medusa will just stand there and be like, well, what are you going to do about it? I'm just going to pop stone gaze every time you're close, and every time you're not, I'm just going to hit you.
Yeah, I think that would be really good here. They just have to watch out for the early burst. But once you ride out the 25-minute mark, 30-minute mark, it should be better. I think another option would be maybe a Void. No, they go with the Medusa. Okay, so that is... Yeah, it just ties in. I mean, you have the Black Hole, you've got the Supernova, and the Stone Gaze. This is not something you want to fight into as 5 as Neon. They should be focusing on the pickoffs. That's where their lineup really shines. And that's where they have to kick off. You get fast levels on your Podge, you start rotating early, you start punishing the Medusa, shut down the map, and that's how you win it out. But T1, they just need to hit 6. It is greedy. Like, to be fair, this is fairly greedy coming out from T1. Like Enigma, Phoenix, Shaker all need EXP. All of them need some form of farm. So that early split is going to hurt them just a bit. But once you ride through that tough spot, if Neon doesn't find the advantage, T1 can easily just take over.
5 seconds remaining.
It'll be interesting to see if Neon can finish this game quick enough. It's just about winning these lanes for Neon. They win the lanes, that should mean they dominate the mid game. Should mean they win the game earlier than T1 can get in your Dream Online. If they don't dominate these lanes though, and if we have another long game like we had in game 1, I can't see Neon winning.
No, it's a Medusa late. You know, it's like the Ursa. I mean, Miracle tried hard to make it work late, but at some point it really just cleaned off. He was the only hero left. You might see that situation for Neon where they suddenly start putting all their eggs into one basket on Scam, and you find that the Ursa is lacking. You know, it doesn't match up to the Dusa. So tight timer for Neon. Have to look for them to really dominate the lane. I mean, they can, right? You've got a Venomancer. We've seen that Veno, if it gets off on the right foot, it can shut down the lane. So T1 has to be careful about that early creed. Neon, you really got to pump out that impression from minute. Keep going.
Whoa! How close was
Plague our enemies.
So T1 just gonna hold up this game.
See you later,
It's a simple way of winning. You just keep increase. It's basically what happened last game anyway.
You will
Eventually, Neon got the pressure to try and push into this T1 lineup before they get out. Just be too late by that point. Perhaps on the offlane Shaker.
Yeah, I think they just want to prioritize that farm because, you know, Paulson, when you have the Enigma anyway, it's just gonna jungle. You know, it's still gonna get the same thing done on the offlane or pause 4, so you might as well give Forev an opportunity to maybe find that early EXP by putting him on the Shaker core. This is a bit of a tough lane for the Shaker. Just solely by nature of how the Enigma plays, you know, it just tends to dip into the jungle, although it does look like Paulson's actually going to be hanging up top. And we actually didn't mention it's IYD in Medusa and Miracle on the Ember Spirit. Look at that, Mike, they've got the levels.
They've got the levels. Daniel gonna fight with Jocam over this bounty. It looks like Jocam does actually manage to snag it away from Januel, but it is going to be a 3-for-1 banner in trade for the side of Neon East. Even at this level 1 stage, they have a very, very strong kind of team fight lineup. Just with their level 1 ability, so I don't think in trying to push into that. Of course, Forever's just focusing on making sure that his wave is going to be blocked twice so he can get the advantage in that laning stage. He knows he's going to have a tough time up against that Ursa in this lane, so it's definitely necessary to make...
Yeah, it's gonna take until like level 3 for this dual lane from T1. Just the raw right click damage you can trade with. Be easy to punish. Like the Phoenix, if you land your Fire Spirits, can pressure out. I don't think...
Tiny from your Posh. Mid Tiny can be rotate quite early on this Tiny and start combo. I think the combo itself would be preferable.
Wouldn't be too surprised if Timies go for the Echo, but...
Top lane as well, Miracle's gonna struggle quite a bit on this Ember, John. He's up against that Raging Potato, and it's just... Every time he gets close, he takes the Gale, he takes the Poison Sting. He's gonna slowly start running out of regen here on this Ember. Can't even get close, like he's gonna try and slide a fist to secure creeps, but that's not really that easy. Raging the T1 tower for Miracle, you could just harass him while he's trying to CS. Just like Raging is trying to do right now. Surprisingly enough, Miracle doesn't bother going to the Flame Guard, so all this magic damage that Raging Potato is dishing out is very effective. None of it's getting blocked.
Yeah, it's a tricky lane for Miracle, and this is what happens when you do have that Enigma. Paulson is just not going to be able to help, so Miracle's always going to be taking this low. If he's not careful, Raging can really look for the cleanup. As you mentioned, down with regen, pops the salve, 2 tangos left. One more Gale, and you know, you're really just sitting on the edge there.
Things looking a bit rough here for Forever as well in that Earthshaker. He's just he's farming okay, but he's consistently having to pull the wave over back to his tier 1 tower. Skem, of course, is essentially free farming on the Ursa right now. There's just no way to slow him down. You expect Skem to have a pretty good game this time around. Especially considering with T1's draft, you won't really be seeing many rotations. Top lane, there's that first blood coming out. Miracle does end up going down. Playhard made 1 rotation on the Rubik, just coming back.
Yeah, it's an Ember Spirit, just kind of space it out right.
Could be a little bit concerned here for T1 though. Like you're kind of depending on that Ember to have a good game, so he can buy space with the Medusa. Like you're running this 4 protect 1 kind of lineup, and it has been a very, very greedy draft from T1. If Miracle does not secure a lane here, this could really go to bad places. And now you've got to be greedy trying to go for that change, but Raging should have the damage and play hard. We'll get the kill once again. That'll be a 2-0 on the Rubik.
Yeah, it's
Try to turn around to just get those chains off, and it costs him his life.
Bit greedy. The creep wave was coming in, and the punishment is there from Neon. So Raging off a really good start. Our Venomancer is going to be hitting level 6 in a really good time, and that means his damage is going to be great. He can get early rotations out. He can shove towers in fast once he does need to be up and running. I think in this case, it looks like, again, T1's prioritizing Forev. They're prioritizing Paulson over Miracle. They just want to be able to get that timing with their greedy supports up first before they end up giving space back to Miracle. So this is just really the way of it with this kind of draft. T1, as long as it's just Miracle and you're still finding farm on, say, Paulson, I think you'll take that trade, but it's a very fine balance to cut for the Ember Spirit.
That it is. We've seen Raging before on this offlane Veno. If this keeps up, he can get really out of control. He's already sitting at level 5, so he's very close already to getting that Poison Nova. Once the Poison Nova's up, Miracle has no way to survive. It's still the Flame Guard points, so he's gonna take all that damage. You know, imagine if you're Raging Potato, as soon as you've got that level 6, if you can connect a Gale and go for that Nova, I will just do it. Because he's alone right now. He's not level 6 in the Ember yet. In fact, Raging is going on to go for that third point in Gale. But he is starting to chip away slowly at this HP for this Ember Spirit. And mid lane, they are going into In Your Dream. He's already out of mana. They won't chase for it underneath that T1 tower. But bot lane for Rev. Scam now on the Ursa. And well, that's going to make it a 3-0. None of these lanes going very well. The Raging is going to fall quite low at the top lane. Still hasn't chosen whether he wants that Nova up. Holding that skill point. Miracle was trying to chase for the kill onto that Venomancer, but ultimately Raging Potato will be able to run away.
Still pretty decent for Raging. I think even if you don't find kills in Miracle, he's at the point where he's forced to level the Slight and Searing. He doesn't even opt for his Remnants. At 6, he just doesn't have the room to even play aggressive with a Remnant. So he's just going to be stuck in this farming lane, trying to match the pressure of that Veno. And with more levels on the Slight and Chains, maybe he finds a kill op if the creep wave is low enough. But it's still a risk. You still have no levels in shield.
Trouble again, your Pons made a rotation on that tiny correct trying to run, but they should have the damage, and they will. Scam does pick up the kill, and now Joe can. Will be forced to Icarus dive out of there. That makes it a 4-0. Miracle will end up dying. Raging Potato, Gale, Poison Nova. Simple as that. And even bot lane again, Paulson dies.
Normally.
It's a 6-0 at 8 minutes in. T1 yet to find their first kill.
Yeah, they've just got such a slow draft. Like, there's a lot of potency with their Wombo combo. It's just the Neon's lanes are really just stronger, and Neon is pulling off that execution. They're not letting go of the aggression. You see them immediately rotate mid. The scan out will save IYD, but if they're not careful, they're going to lose their jungle.
Oh no, Icarus Knight getting cancelled there by Yopaj. Just Joe Cam waiting too long on the dive, trying to go for some added damage on Januel before he leaves. And the Avalanche is chipping on the backside, and now Perev trying to deal with this Ursa. Scam is going for another dive underneath the T1. Yopaj is rotated again. Perev, I don't think he survives this as Yopaj does scout him out. He can't open the delay things, but Scam is right there. The Avalanche comes out. Yopaj with the toss. Perev still surviving somehow, but ultimately they will have the control. That's going to make it a 2k net worth lead here for Neon Esports, and they are yet to drop a kill.
Yeah, T1 just really getting swept away with a really greedy lineup. They're still trying to find the levels and the farm on their Enigma. And Paulson, I mean, this jungle, he's building up, but you're at the point where IYD is also dipping into the jungle. So that space to farm shrinks. It is getting a bit stuffed up in that jungle, and Neon, they're not going to let go. They're just going to keep invading. Find the jungle now. Maybe find a kill.
Yeah, Paulson poured out. Avalanche toss is going to be more than enough to kill him. Joe Cam, he can Icarus dive out of there. He will. Just wanted to take a couple hits from Yopaj before he did. So, I mean, the brighter side is Medusa is still fast. In Your Dream, top of the net worth board on that Medusa, still hitting creeps the best he can. All these boundaries are being snatched away, but now Perev does go for a Fisher on Januel, but doesn't get the block off. They had Cookie anyway. But if In Your Dream can just keep farming up like this, then maybe T1 later on can turn this around. So Joe Cam might actually find the first kill here for T1. Oh no, Januel will be fine to just walk away. But it really is going to be on the shoulders of that Medusa now to try and carry this game for T1.
Yeah, it's a lot riding.
No, he'll be fine. He'll walk out.
Yeah, it's a lot riding on the shoulders of IYD. I love the aggression coming out from Neon. They can't relent in this game. They have to keep that pace up. You look to them to try to find objectives. As long as they're not finding these towers, I mean, that jungle from T1 is pretty stuffy, but it's still there. So you're still finding that farm on IYD you mentioned. With all those rotations now, Miracle has a free lane to somewhat recover in. Does have pretty much max Sleight of Fist, so he can do some right-click damage and commitment down mid.
You must be careful if your dreams will show off. He doesn't have Stone Gaze, but they do get Januel. Now the Rubik play hard will die and Yopaj. They commit 5 heroes, they find 3 kills, and that's going to be a massive fight on the side of T1. The Raging Potato pops his head in, gets a quick courier snipe, and backs off again.
That's not a set of kills that T1 should have found. Neon, with her aggression, kind of get punished for being a bit too far forward. And T1 does find a nice injection in those kills. You look at the net worth again. IYD is still farming great, still trading spots with Scam. Not the best spots in Miracle.
Man, Avalanche should come out from your path, trying to cancel that dive out of Joker. You know where the dive now, Skins is flying out. They will get the Phoenix in time, but they lose Raging Potato. He got that poison node wrong, but there'll be no follow-up as In Your Dream does use the stone gaze, but no, Yopash, he wants to keep going. Nice stun out from the creep there from Polison. Yopash, he was closing the gap, instead now going to go on the Enigma, and Polison may overstay his welcome. He will die to Genuel on the Snapfire. So, still not too bad for T1. You ended up finding that +3 Venom. Does cost you both your supports, but right now you need everything you can get on T1. Miracle, that is not the Remnant, sir. Right into your Page. He won't die though. He does survive. Now Remnant back. He's trying to go back onto that Rubik's Joe camp. Gonna be there with the follow-off damage. They have a stun out from that dominant creep, so play hard, still surviving somehow. Will try to run away. Does go down.
Is under attack.
T1 just trying to defend this T1 mid tower.
Yeah, they've got to hold on to these objectives. The fact that Neon has not really found them is enough to buy you some time here. So they're finding some counter kills. They're still finding farm up. You're slowly building up. Although Forev,
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Cookie? No, he won't throw it out. Still going after Forever, but now this might cost his life. Miracle has joined in. Still trying, but ultimately will die. Forever getting ticked out by the Venom wards, but he will be able to keep the art and survive just fine. Meanwhile, top lane, Black Hole, play hard. Actually stole the Black Hole away from the Enigma, does turn it around. Now your Page is there with the Avalanche toss, taking out Joe Cam in Your Dream, trying to turn around and find a counter kill here. Can't quite finish off your Page on the Tiny. It's been a real back and forth this game, but now in esports they do hold a 4K network lead now, still at 13-6. Skem has good up top lane to try and take down that T1 top tower.
Dire's top tower
yeah,
is
they
under attack.
really have to start hunting these objectives down just to take more control away from T1 and really start to drain that jungle off as T1's still steadily building up. And if you look at Forev, he's just about 1,000 gold away, gets the deny down mid. So that's control still going to Neon, although
Dire's top tower
you would like that gold, but it's just not quite there. With the blink up and running Yapaj though, you're probably not safe anymore. He's just gonna have that blink avalanche toss, and as we've seen, T1, they're not very tanky yet.
Dire's top tower is being attacked like nobody's business.
They're gonna start invading that Radiant jungle. Miracle gonna try and maybe find out Radiant Potato here on that Venom. We're spotting up, just wants to take care of these Venom wards. Raging moving forward, has to be very wary of this. Your hard jumping in, avalanche toss. Miracle gets blown up. Now Forever's in trouble. He does have the echo, but just ends up going down, and Yopash still chasing him up his Jokan now. They will net him up, and looks like Jokan should be alright, though Yopash trying to sneak his way in the tree line. Does have avalanche toss. He's just waiting for the right moment. Three here, right next to this back off. Avalanche toss is going to be there. Survive, however. Now he may have gone too far. Yopash needs to run out. Starts quickly there for Samuel. They're still winning the fight. Raging. Poison Noble will fly out. And now the toss once again on the Jokan. Finding another kill on the T1.
Dire's middle tower is under
And I've got to tell you, John,
ordinary amount of stress.
this core ES from Forever. I hate to say it, but his staggered timing is kind of worse than a position 4 ES. Scope is down. Your doesn't really do much, however. Forever gonna get chased down, and Raging just gonna keep eyes on him, gets the spirit vessel off. Gale doesn't really connect. But yeah, I mean, this is a Pond 3 ES that still hasn't got Blink at 16.5%. Whoa, scam. Just jumping in on Policy. Now they'll try to chase down that Ursa. Scam is falling very, very low. Trying to dodge that Remnant, but he won't get away. They do find a very important pick off there, but unfortunately all the gold goes to Joker.
Oh no,
Now Forev dies again.
Yeah, it's not a great game for Forev. He's really caught the short end of the stick. I think at this point you'd consider Paulus in the core for sure, just because his progression's a bit better. His EXP is most definitely not though. It's a slow dismantling of T1. They are still somewhat finding form with IYD. It's trailing behind Scam's farm because he does have the Battle Fury. But you can still build up on the Medusa. It's just starting to really look like the previous Medusa games we've seen outside of Boom. You're just not getting enough. You did go really greedy in this initial draft. The payoff is going to be a long way off. You need blinks up on Forev, on Paulson. For Paulson, you need a BKB as well. And for Jokam, he actually needs to use the egg. He's been killed off every single time. They might find play hard.
They will.
Five fall, the earth remains.
It's still just on in your dream. It's Medusa. Still doing okay in terms of network. It's not quite amazing though. Like you look at that Ursa with the Battle Fury and Scam is just still overtaking this network graph. Now he's gonna go for Roshan that double damage room. Neon Esports, if they can keep this pace up against King, so it should theoretically never get online.
Yeah, they are hitting that stride, and we mentioned that from draft, but they just have the potential to do that. And you look at Scam, straight into the Roche, and the first Roche of the game for free. That is an Ursa. That is what they tend to do. They trade a tier 1 bot. It's not a very important objective anymore for Neon, so gonna be very happy with that pickup. And just like that, you see Scam continue to build up. He looks to be building into Sanjin, Yasha, and a Kaya as well. Does he want a Trident down the line? That's
Get a jump. Forev is in trouble once again. He's gonna end up dying. A black hole being committed. They just want the Ursa kill. That is only in Aegis, however. Now the chase is on. So quick, Poison over with there, but now in your dream, doing a fair bit of damage here. Reggie the Taylor will end up dying. Miracle does also go down though, and now Scam gonna go after that Medusa. They got the disrupt, it's always welcome for Rev. They will secure the kill onto Scam. That did cost the buyback out from Miracle and for Rev to get this done. Now perhaps they'll find play hard on the Rubik, but your Page is waiting around the corner just in case. Looks like play hard should be okay to TP. Maybe not January. He did try to go to that outpost soon and doesn't get in time. Now that we're back onto in your dream, he's completely automatic cookie lounge as well, but they won't have the follow-up damage. January trying, but he has no skills left. Your Page has Avalanche in 1 second, has Blink in a second to break that gap, and he will get it. That is a big kill for Neon. Considering you just committed all those buybacks on T1, I can't say it was worth it.
No, it's definitely not. Like, they did find the counter kills, but man, are you behind, and they're gonna lose more. Forev.
And maybe not, your Page is falling low. Remnant's in, Miracle doesn't commit quite yet. Yules is there on your Page. He's going to try and run away. Raging Potato's still doing a lot of damage out to Forev, but he's getting healed up, and now your Page getting Icarus dives on. Should die and does, but Raging is not done yet with Forev. He still wants the Earthshaker dieback. He is going to get it. Now another fight's going to break out. Januel jumps in on the Snapfire. Which is stolen by Playhard Jokam. He will also go down. Now the Enigma getting lifted up through the TP will die as well. And no matter what happens, Neon Esports continue to get the advantage in these team fights.
Yeah, they've got T1's number. T1 went for such a greedy draft. IYD comes in, tries to find Januel, but just can't. Just can't. And Jonuel again, Mike. I believe this is the 9th blink for Snapfire overall. So it's up again. He did this yesterday. He's doing it once more. The blink in your face, shotgun and cookie. It is potent. Well, it's making it work. T1. I mean, you're at the point. Look at the graph.
Dyer's bottom tower is under attack.
Playhard has more farm than Miracle. You know, it's not any. I don't know how to say this, but it's just bad. It's just bad for T1. You know, it's in shambles. Their greedy draft they've run out of space to farm in. You've got an SNY on IYD just because he has to keep fighting, and it's not quite paying off. He's tapered behind even the Venomancer now. So the progression you were looking for is taken off. They need to land that combination. They need the Blink and Forev. Even Paulson, but they just can't find the gold.
You're gonna just try and keep buying in your dream time. Eventually this draft from Neon should drop off. Sunray Raging Potato is going to fall quite low, but again, another Fisher out from Playcard is going to stop them in their tracks. They just can't chase him down. They're so grouped up in this little dire spot, they just can't go anywhere else. Anywhere else they go, they'll probably just get picked off. Scam going to farm a neutral camp now. Paulson does spot it out. So does In Your Dreams. They'll try and force him out of this jungle, but that's just going to mean he's going to bring teammates up now. And your Page is of course going to be there with that Invis. Does jump in on the Enigma. Paulson about to fall. Will get quite close to dying. And there's some more of his kisses just to ensure he does.
It's T1 just out of space to farm in. Very easy for Neon to punish. I really want Scam is really going for this. He has the Sanjin Yashi. He's going for the Sanjin Kaya next, just to stack the Sanj effect. Just stack the Sanj, I think. Just status resist. I guess that's the only reason I can see. It's
Better get some stats on how many times that's happened. So I haven't heard that one before. I will in your dream, but Gale does not connect. He's got that poison over there. No spirit vessel charges. Able to top raging. Can't take that out, but then you all can. Blink in, getting that kill. Now the airline's crossed in your dream, falling over the poison over as well. Midnight crossbow. Paulson trying to fight back with his team. Your dream will hold his ground. And raging should die. He gets fissured, and Sleight of Fist will be enough. Mind you, your dream is still falling low, and now your Page jumps in and finishes off the kill. Miracle trying to get away, but they get the cookie. And Forev, he is a 50 gold off the blink. Not now. Not now, Forev. Run.
Oh, Paulson's.
He's a standing over I don't want to. I see nothing.
Oh, this sentry. It's gone.
He went for the area bait. Daniel baits him out. He doesn't even get a hit in.
Oh man. Oh, T1. They find one kill comes at cost of everything else, and well, another one.
DJ Khaled will be proud. Go Cam's gonna go down.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna take tier 2 mid tower. They now have a 21k net worth lead. At 25 minutes in, that's almost 1k a minute.
Yeah. It's a lot, and it's just gonna get worse. T1. I mean, if they had the blink on Forev, you might be seeing something more, but you don't. Paulson also is just opting for the Glimmer Kit because he can't even save for the blink. You've got the Ags now as well on Playhard. I mean, he's got everything. He doesn't. It's only the blink missing for Playhard, but it doesn't seem like he needs it. Yeah, he doesn't. Forev has his blink. And maybe they can get a big slam, but such an look at the farm on Scam. He has the heart up. He didn't go for the meme. He went for the heart, realizing it had more sense. And Paulson's just dead. No, he's dead.
No, he probably is dead. He's Poison camp, you're in business now. Genuine going on Joe camp. You just did your 5. It's one of those games, John. It's just
Oh, scam.
Scam's got a heart up. He's not afraid.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Miracle gonna rip it out of there. Gets lifted up. One of the kids is flying in on the Medusa, but they just take him out. Just has no sustain. Now Scam just going on these tier 4 towers. Just doesn't care because he has a heart. Your part, Avalanche, doesn't quite get the top off in your dream. They are tickling this time, this fucking was Scam. Scam really just taking the
Dire's middle
We'll
tower
eventually
is
smack
under
that
an
anyway.
extraordinary amount of stress.
Yeah, but you've got T1 stuck to their high ground once more. They're in a situation where they can't really do much. They could try to go for their wombo combo, but look at Neon. They're just tossing Scam. It's only Scam in front. They can afford to do this.
You believe what you get there now. Here, Sean.
I am required
That'll be the tier. Gone.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
And it looks like Scam's gonna have a bit of a back off. Roshan will be up in a minute and 20 seconds. Raging Potato is slowly gonna chip away at these racks. Classic Venomancer, just spamming wards on the high ground. Timber Dream will thank him for the added gold value. Doesn't really have him to farm right now. Well, Neon have the rest of the map to themselves.
Yeah, they've just taken over, and again, there's no space to farm. For T1, still have to see 4 of his Blink in action. It feels like they're gonna rely on that and a really well-placed deck. And then maybe the follow-up Black Hole with Stonegate. I think so much for them this far behind that you have to get on and
But Dire's
Just
bottom
running
tower
through
is
with an
under
avalanche. But Nick is just avalanching. Miracle has been caught again. And will die in the Ember.
See you later, nerds.
Mid lane, they can move off on the Enigma. He does have Black Hole, but how do you commit it to the system? One of the Kissins is flying out. Hollis is burning alive right now. He will die.
No necromancer shall raise what the venomancer puts down.
Now, so you guys got tier 3. Nothing in there. Get the kill onto the Phoenix. Poison over out. Echo from one. Initiative as well. Scam just doesn't care. Now a nice picture coming up from the Rubik and all the white from the new drink. They'll try one more time. This game is about at that where it could be over. 31k net worth lead now. Over 1k a minute. The side of Neon ESPORT.
Cunningly fortified.
Scam has a death cell.
Oh god.
Going faster.
Dire's middle barracks are under attack.
They'll get the mid right. They'll back off.
Middle barracks has
No, Raiden's back in. Gay doesn't have poison over. Another nice fisher up and playing hard. Just stealing spells every time he gets the chance.
Dire's bottom tower
Mystic
is
Snake for
under
himself.
attack.
Always nice for farming.
Yeah, and they play the stall. You've got the Blink and the Rubik. The Roche is back up. Scam just melts it. Aegis and Cheese just gonna go their way. Not like they really needed it, but it's there. And T1, a huge deficit to play up against. You look at DOTA Plus, Mike. Somehow, still a 1% chance for T1 to win. Yeah, 1%. Yeah, this is quite generous. Yeah, it's very generous. For 35k, 13 and 31 minutes. That's a lot of stock they're putting into Medusa.
Miracle. You're right. I mean, in all fairness, In Your Dream can bring this back, but he's currently behind by 9k in comparison to skill on the Ursa. So forget about hiding the Ursa. Just no chance of that happening right now. Skim's about to hit level 25 more. Now your pass comes in for the knockback. Forev will get in there as well. Stone Gaze does come out. He does get the Ursa Stone enough, but just there's no follow-up. The Fuse is flying out is enough. Olsen has Black Hole. Might want to commit it on Scam, but won't bother. And Miracle Water ends up going down. Now Infantry is going to jump back in. He can't really afford to die. Infantry team will play anyway. They have Corvus, they have Hazmata, and Neon ESPORT. Take a big move over the front of Team 1.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of greed from T1. Easily punished by Neon. Neon just running away.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun